Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Jewish Leadership Academy's 2026 commencement ceremony. Tonight, we are honored to recognize and celebrate a historic milestone as we recognize the achievements of our inaugural graduating class, the class of 2026. Before we begin, we kindly ask that you silence all cell phones, electronic devices, any other electronics that beep or make noise. Our team will be professionally capturing the event, and all photos, videos, and a recording of the ceremony will be shared with families afterwards. So be present and enjoy. Now, finally, please join us in celebrating the remarkable accomplishments of the class of 2026. Please rise for the Star-Spangled Banner, followed by Hatikva, led by Junior Nissan Krantz on the piano.
This was not supposed to happen. Literally, this was not supposed to happen. Some of you might know that when the Jewish Leadership Academy sent out its first marketing material, we announced that we were going to be opening for 2003-2004 with a 6th, 7th, and 9th grade. And so if you do the math, the first graduating class of the Jewish Leadership Academy is not the young men, or wasn't supposed to be, the young men and women sitting on the stage in front of you, but their friends in 11th grade sitting there in the back. And yet, soon after that announcement went out, we started getting phone calls. There was a group of parents who had kids going into 10th grade, who felt passionately about this school. They wanted their child to be a part of it. And they wanted to know, would we consider starting at 10th grade? And so we decided 3 things needed to be true in order for that to happen. The first thing is we needed to figure out if we could become fully accredited by a well-established, well-recognized, accrediting body of independent schools by the time that 10th grade would be ready to send their applications off to college. If we couldn't, we wouldn't do it. The second thing we needed to know was how many of them were actually out there. Would there be a critical mass, academically, socially, to make this happen? And number 3, who were they? Because after all, if we were going to take in 10th grade, this was going to be a group that the entire school looked up to. Not for 1 year, but for 3. Would they reflect the values upon which this school was being imagined and was being founded? And so we rather quickly found out that yes, in fact, if we did everything right, we could get accredited by the time a 10th grade would send their applications off to college, and that is a milestone that we hit last May. We then asked how many of them are really out there who are serious about sending their kids, and we found out that yes, there was a critical mass, just barely. And then number 3, who were they? Who were these kids who wanted to come? Would they meet the standards that we were looking for? And so we got to know them. And ladies and gentlemen, we have not ever looked back. So welcome to the first graduation of the Jewish Leadership Academy. Ernst Mayr was one of the great evolutionary biologists of the 20th century. And amongst many other things, he did his work in the Museum of Natural History in New York City and then at Harvard. And amongst many other things he contributed to the world of science was an idea that has since been taken and applied well beyond its origins in evolutionary biology to the world of startup companies and startup organizations, and he called it the founder's effect. The founder's effect was a simple observation that, looking back on it, seems so obvious to us, but it wasn't in its time. The founder's effect posits the following: that when a few members of a particular species become geographically dislocated, geographically isolated from the rest of their species, the result is a substrain of that species that has an overrepresentation of the DNA of their founders. Or in other words, this group that got isolated from their peers now has an inordinate impact on generations to come in a way that they wouldn't have had they stayed where they were. Ladies and gentlemen, the young men and women on the stage this evening are our founders. And yes, they were indeed geographically dislocated from their species. They were dislocated from Ort, Argentina, from Fort Lauderdale High School, from Hebrew Academy, from Sheikh Hillel, from Nova U School, from Binas Halev, from Mast Academy, from Jewish Academy, from Katz Yeshiva High School. And Michael, you may well be the most beloved student in all of JLA, and we're still trying to figure out where you came from. So this is a group that became isolated from their peers, and just like the founders in Ernst Mayer's study, their imprint is now all over this school, and will be all over future generations of JLA students. It is because of the young men and women on this stage that it is today and forevermore will be okay to wear your seat out at JLA. It is because of the people on the stage that it is okay to love to come to tefillah. It is because of the people who are here on the stage that future generations of JLA students know that you can be both an academic and an artist, whether you are a girl or a boy. It is because of the young people on the stage that all future generations of JLA students will know that you can be a premier athlete and also spend your Sunday mornings working with children with disabilities. It is because of the people here on this stage that future generations of JLA students will look forward to their opportunity to run a STEM workshop here on campus for foster children. It is because of the people here on this stage that future generations of JLA students know that you can sit down at a piano and play a beautiful piece of classical music here in our school, and that's looked up upon, and it's looked forward to. It is because of the people here on the stage that future generations of students will know that you can advocate for yourself. When you want to see something here in the school and you want to see a change, you do it right, and you can make it happen. It is because of the people on the stage that future generations of students will know that you can, in fact, create an organization, create a business, make a difference in the world while you are still a high school student. It is because of the people here on the stage that future generations of JLA students will know that to truly love the state of Israel, to truly feel connected to the state of Israel, is to be willing to put your life on the line for the state of Israel. It is because of the people here on the stage that future generations of JLA students will know that 12 different young men and women from very different homes, from very different backgrounds, can come together not just to create friendships, but to create a family. You are our founders, and we, the school today and forevermore, are indebted to you for it. The story is often told of when the Jewish people are leaving Egypt, and behind them in hot pursuit is the strongest army in the world, the Egyptian army, and they find themselves at a certain point trapped. The army approaching behind them and a vast sea in front of them. And the story told in the Talmud is that the tribes of Israel begin to fight with each other. Nobody wants to enter into the sea. Nobody wants to jump in. Until Nachshon ben Aminadav, the Nasi, the head of this tribe of Judah, he decides to jump. He goes, and the water splits, and everybody else follows him in. That at least is the most common version told of that story. But the truth of the matter is, in the very same place in the Talmud, there is an earlier version of this story, and it's rather different. That version goes, the Jewish people are on their way out of Egypt, and they're in hot pursuit. Behind them is the Egyptian army, and they become trapped. The Egyptian army enclosing behind them, and the sea in front of them, and the tribes of Israel begin to fight with each other, and they are saying, we want to go in. And the other tribe says, no, we want to go in first. And each one is arguing that they deserve to be the first ones in. They want to be the first ones in. And as they're having this conversation, the tribe of Judah just gets up and goes. The first version of the story, the more common version. The lesson in leadership is clear. Often there is a paralysis of fear. Nobody wants to be first. First graduating class? Let them work out the kinks of the school on somebody else's kids. What's going to happen when they get to 12th grade? What's going to happen with college admissions? How will they ever get into great schools? Who knows if this is just a pipe dream? We'll leave that to somebody else. It's the paralysis of fear which requires a Nachshon ben Aminadav to just jump in. And that says the Talmud is why he is the progenitor of all Jewish leadership. All kings come from the tribe of Judah. But the first version of the story also, I believe, has a lesson in leadership. The first version of the story is not about the paralysis of fear, but the paralysis of conversation. Oh, sure. JLA sounds like a great idea. Oh, yes. We would send our kids. Oh, absolutely. Yes. They're still talking. But the families in this room, the parents in this room, they were not paralyzed, neither by the fear nor by the conversation. They got up and went in. They would not stand on the sideline. They know that to lead means that sometimes, as everybody else is talking, we got to get up and do it. Ein hamidrash ha'ikar ela ma'aseh, tell our rabbis, the talk is cheap. It's what you do that really counts. So I want to acknowledge this evening our tribe of Judah. I want to acknowledge both the students on our stage, who are our Nachshon ben Aminadavs, the ones who actually jumped in, and our parents here in the audience, who had the courage, who had the willingness, who had the faith to jump in when nobody else would. It is because of you that everything you see here exists. Guys, there have been countless graduation speeches over the ages that cite the famous poem by Robert Frost, The Road Less Taken. But almost always when that poem is cited, it's cited as a charge to the graduates. Graduates, the speaker will say, you have the ability to blaze your own path. Get out there and innovate. Don't follow others, but lead. Do what nobody else has done because of everything we've given you here at the school. That's how it usually works. But the young men and women on the stage this evening, they are different. They are far more like Robert Frost himself. You have taken the road less taken. And so I want to finish this evening by quoting to you the last paragraph, the last stanza in that poem. Robert Frost writes, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Guys and girls, you took the road less traveled, and it has, and it will continue to make all the difference. It will in your lives, as you approach that next fork in the road, you will have the courage to take that road less traveled. You will know what it looks like to jump in, to be that person who leads. You will know the impact you can have even if and when you do. And it will make all the difference, and it already has, on who we are, what we are, and what we will be. Because you took the road less traveled, it has made all the difference for us. And I am today and forever indebted to you and your parents for having done so. Mazal tov.
I'm really excited to be the founding class of JLA because we're going to be the role models for the school.
Times and places are all in who you share 'em with, and it's life. And the point is enjoying who you share.
lot of hair. I guess I'm going to start it off with the beginning. We had a very interesting first impression of each other as a school. There's nothing quite like spending 12 hours in a Boeing 787-9 barreling across the Atlantic with 35 complete strangers. And you can ask Andre or Ari. I was sitting right between them. I did not sleep a single minute on that flight. Instead, somewhere over the ocean, I made it my personal mission to shake hands with every single JLA student on that plane before we landed. It wasn't a sophisticated strategy. Walking up to strangers one by one, at best, it's a little bit awkward, and at worst, I was making a fool out of myself. I was definitely making a fool out of myself. But looking back, I think that awkwardness was kind of the point. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to explain that. We've heard this word about 10,000 times in the past 3 years that we've been in this school. But I don't think we've ever really looked at it. Sophomore. The names of every other year of high school make intuitive sense. Freshman, junior, senior. But sophomore, that one's Greek to me. Go figure, it's derived from two Greek words. Sophos, meaning wisdom, from which we get words like philosophy and sophisticated. And moros, where we get the word moron. A sophomore is, at its root, a wise fool. Now, that's usually meant as an insult. A fool who thinks he knows everything. But I'd like to offer an alternative reading. Maybe the wise fool isn't someone who mistakes his ignorance for wisdom, but somebody who's wise enough to look foolish sometimes. Wise enough to ask an obvious question, to say something that you're not entirely sure about, or to walk up to a stranger on a plane at 2 a.m. just to shake their hand. What's unique about our grade is that we never had the luxury of easing in. Most students enter high school as freshmen. The meaning's in the name. A clean, fresh slate ready to be molded. Entering an established system. But when we entered JLA, we were sophomores. We entered already carrying the mantle of the wise fool without an established system to walk into. And looking back, I think that is exactly what this place needed us to be. The wise fool doesn't have everything figured out, but he does have something much more valuable: the confidence to try and the humility to grow. And without really noticing it, that foolish sophomore slowly becomes a junior, and then a senior, and then one day, an adult. And that word is alluring, especially to the sophomores in the back. No, the juniors. You guys aren't sophomores anymore. That's so crazy. It sounds like adult. It sounds like an accomplishment, like you've just passed the finish line. But take it from someone right on the cusp of adulthood. I've learned something. The goal is not to leave that sophomore behind. It's to carry him with you. I want to share something that gave me the language to express this. Many of you may know that in 9th grade, I decided to become religious on my own. The first thing I did was keep Shabbat. And one of my initial Shabbat pastimes was sitting with my little art scroll Siddur and reading Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, over and over again until the lessons sunk in. I've read the first chapter so many times I practically memorized it. So in chapter 1, Mishnah number 4, Yosei ben Yoezer says, Yehi beitecha beit va'ad lechachamim. Let your house be a house of meeting for the wise. Veheve metabek be'afar regleihem, and sit in the dust of their feet. Veheve shoteh batzama et divrehem, and drink with thirst from their words. On the surface, the lesson's obvious. Surround yourself with wise people and learn from them. But if that were the whole message, then the Mishnah would just tell us to drink from their words. Instead, it first urges us to sit in the dust of their feet. Why is that? Because wisdom is received from above. And when you insist on standing so tall, wisdom flies right past you. But when you bow your head a little bit, just imagine what you can receive. I think that's what King David meant when he wrote, Reshit chokhmah yirat Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is fear of God. Wisdom begins when you accept that the universe does not revolve around you, and the gates open when you're willing to kneel. That is the sophomore's greatest gift. It's not his intelligence, it's his posture. And I think that that's the posture JLA has been teaching us all along. Every SCP session spent learning how to connect with people whose lives look nothing like ours. Every moment in an unfamiliar country, Israel or Italy, where we couldn't rely on what we already knew. Every classroom conversation that forced us to question something that we'd always taken for granted, JLA kept putting us in the dust. And slowly, without even realizing it, we grew into something else. The person standing here today is not the same one that spoke to you and shook your hand 3 years ago. But he's not gone either. He's still here. And he's the reason why I'm still asking questions. He's the reason my hands are shaking right now to speak. He's the one who interrupted 35 strangers' sleep cycles on a plane just to say, hey, my name's Jake, what's your name? Not because he was confident, but because that was the only way forward. And I think that's the thing about entering such a new environment as a wise fool. You don't get to pretend that you're meant to be there. You can't fake fitting in when there's nothing to fit into yet. You have to build the mold. We had to build the mold, and I think we did. My fellow graduates, we're about to scatter. 7 of us are going to universities in the United States or in Israel. 2 of us will be going to yeshivot. 1 will be going to mechina. And 2 of you, as crazy as it is to say, are enlisting directly in the army. It's crazy. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Gabriel, you too. Come on, come on. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, I could never do that. I can't imagine what goes through your head. So 8 of the 12 of us will be in an entirely new country. Most of us are going to be in Israel next year, which is also crazy to think about. Surrounded by, in a completely new environment, surrounded by completely new people that we don't know yet. And in every one of those moments, we will face the same choice that we faced on that plane. You can either retreat inward and pretend like you already know how to belong, or you can risk looking a little foolish in order to grow. So I urge you, ask an obvious question, introduce yourself first, sit in the dust of people wiser than you, stay curious, stay humble, stay teachable. And then no matter how old you get, and no matter how far you go, some small part of you will always be a sophomore. Thank you.
I really appreciate Michael's thoughtful and serious approach to important questions. I've taught in both civics and philosophy, subjects that require and reward an appreciation for complexity. I've watched Michael over the past 2 years get better and better at tackling complicated, knotty problems, and I've really enjoyed getting to watch him untangle them in increasingly sophisticated ways. When Michael comes to me and says, Dr. J, I've done some work on that question we were discussing in class, I know that I'm in for a treat. He has an interesting mind and he uses it in interesting ways. There's not much more that a teacher could ask for in a student.
Over the past 3 years, Edmund has distinguished himself as someone full of curiosity, creativity, and big ideas. In math class, he rarely approached problems in a conventional way. More often, Edmund would raise his hand not only with an answer, but with a new perspective, an unexpected question, or a creative possibility that pushed discussions beyond the classroom itself. One of Edmund's most memorable qualities is his entrepreneurial spirit. He is constantly imagining projects, ventures, and new ways of doing things, approaching each idea with enthusiasm and confidence. That willingness to think boldly, take intellectual risks, and explore new possibilities is a remarkable strength and reflects both creativity and ambition. What makes Edmund especially exciting to watch is that he's still growing into those talents learning how to pair innovation with thoughtfulness and purpose. Edmund's intelligence, imagination, and drive have made a lasting impression on those around him, and there's no doubt that those qualities will continue to open meaningful opportunities for him in the future.
My first encounter with Raphael was hearing him play the piano. Even then, it was clear that music was not simply an activity for him, but something deeply woven into who he was. I came to know this more fully while serving as his SEP advisor in 11th grade. During an activity about identifying challenges in the world, Raphael immediately began thinking about inequities in music education and the many children who lack access to instruments or instruction. What stood out was not only his creativity in imagining solutions, but also the empathy and thoughtfulness behind his ideas. Raphael cares deeply about making the arts accessible to others because he understands the joy, expression, and opportunity they can provide. This year, as his English teacher, I have also seen the depth and nuance he brings to discussions and writing. Though often quiet and unassuming, Raphael engages the world with sincerity, intellect, and heart. In the words of Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. Raphael, go forward and play your part well.
Since arriving at JLA, Ayelet has always been unapologetically herself. In film production, she quickly became known for her strong opinions, sharp humor, and the kind of honesty that made every conversation memorable. Beneath that confidence, though, is someone deeply loyal to the people she cares about. Whether sitting with those close friends in the upper school commons, offering steady support to classmates, or proudly showing off photos of her baby brother, Ayelet brings genuine care and devotion to her relationships. Over the years, I have also watched her grow in confidence and collaboration, from her early film projects in 10th grade to her work on a larger senior production. Ayelet has continued to develop her voice while staying true to herself. She leaves her mark not by trying to fit expectations, but by bringing authenticity, loyalty, and conviction into every space she enters.
From the very beginning of his time at JLA, Gabriel Graciani stood out for his enthusiasm, curiosity, and genuine love of learning. I still remember that on his very first day, he came over simply to talk about soccer. A small moment that quickly revealed the passion and energy he brings to everything he does. Gabriel went on to become an important part of our boys' soccer team, where he consistently demonstrated leadership, dedication, and a true team-first attitude that earned the respect of both teammates and coaches. Yet Gabriel's talents extend far beyond the field. He is also a gifted musician, a talented photographer, and someone who approaches creativity with thoughtfulness and originality. Whether in athletics, the arts, or everyday interactions, Gabriel brings warmth, commitment, and authenticity to those around him. It has been a privilege to watch him grow over the years, and there's no doubt that he'll continue to inspire others wherever life takes him next.
Over the past 2 years in Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus, it has been a privilege to watch Martu grow both as a student and as a person. She stands out not only for her strong mathematical abilities, but also for the curiosity, creativity, and kindness she brings into the classroom each day. I still remember her parabola project in Algebra 2, where she approached a real-world problem with determination and imagination, carefully refining her work until it reflected the high standards she sets for herself. That project perfectly captured the way Martu embraces challenges thoughtfully, persistently, and with genuine curiosity. Her passion for architecture is easy to understand because she naturally combines analytical thinking with creativity in a way that gives her a unique perspective on the world around her. Martu consistently lifts up those around her through her positivity, collaboration, and thoughtful presence. She has made our classroom a better place by simply being part of it, and there's no doubt that her perseverance, creativity, and compassion will continue to guide her towards extraordinary accomplishments.
Over the past 2 years, it has been a privilege to watch Jake grow into someone who combines curiosity, intelligence, and integrity in remarkable ways. From the moment he entered my computer science classes, Jake stood out for the thoughtful questions he asked and the creativity he brought to every project. He consistently challenged himself and inspired those around him to think more deeply and approach problems with greater curiosity. What makes Jake especially memorable, however, is not only his talent, but also his character. He is always willing to help others, generously sharing his knowledge with classmates and approaching every challenge with confidence and optimism. When someone asks whether something can be built or solved, Jake's instinct is never to back away, but instead to find a way forward. That willingness to experiment, create, and problem solve is a rare quality and one that will serve him well throughout life. Jake's strong values, quiet leadership, and genuine kindness have left a lasting impact on the JLA community, and there is no doubt he will continue to accomplish extraordinary things.
When people think about JLA, it's hard not to think about Ari. Since joining JLA, Ari has become someone whose presence quietly shapes the rhythm and spirit of the community around him. Many know him as the student who leads the Sfaradi Minyan and who willingly gives up free time to ensure that there's always a Minyan for Mincha. But Ari's leadership extends far beyond what is visible. Time and again, he notices what is needed to be done and simply does it, quietly, consistently, and without seeking recognition. Ari brings warmth, positivity, and genuine gratitude into the school each and every day. He appreciates learning with curiosity and sincerity, and he treats peers and teachers with deep respect. Ari embodies the idea that Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah, and JLA is stronger because of the example he sets for others.
Moshe is one of those rare people whose kindness and conscientious nature leave a lasting impression on everyone around him. He approaches life with warmth, sincerity, and a genuine care for others that is impossible to miss. In the classroom, Moshe consistently demonstrated dedication and determination. He took his studies seriously, worked hard, and always wanted to do his very best. Even when he worried more than necessary about exams, that concern reflected how deeply he valued learning and personal growth. What stands out most about Moshe, however, is the quiet thoughtfulness he brings to everyday moments. I still remember the morning my lanyard broke outside the physics lab and beads scattered everywhere across the floor. Before I could even react, Moshe calmly stepped in to help gather every bead, carefully placing them aside so it could be repaired. That simple act captured exactly who he is: respectful, compassionate, and always ready to help. Moshe's kindness, authenticity, and strong character will continue to make a meaningful difference wherever life takes him.
When people think of Gustavo, words like determination, discipline, and leadership quickly come to mind. Whether in the soccer field, in the classroom, or through the many extracurricular projects he has helped lead, Gustavo approaches everything he does with focus, purpose, and commitment. What stands out most, however, is the way he chooses to use his time and talents in service of others. From supporting robotics initiatives to helping create science opportunities for both JLA students and foster children through SEP, Gustavo consistently looks for meaningful ways to contribute to his community. He's also someone unafraid to think independently. Gustavo asks thoughtful questions, challenges ideas, and advocates strongly for what he believes is right. That willingness to speak up, combined with his initiative and persistence, is part of what makes him a natural leader. Gustavo has already accomplished so much during his time at JLA, and it is clear that this is only the beginning of what he's capable of achieving.
From the moment Talia joined our community, she carried herself with a confidence, independence, and determination that naturally drew others to her. She has a strong sense of purpose and a quiet self-assurance that allows her to approach every opportunity with maturity and intention. I had the privilege of seeing this firsthand during our trip to Italy, where Talia navigated new experiences with grace, curiosity, and confidence. She has also made a lasting impact on our school through her dedication to the yearbook over the past 2 years. Her creativity, attention to detail, and commitment help preserve the memories and spirit of our community in meaningful ways. As Talia prepares for her next chapter in Israel and her future service in the IDF, it is clear that her courage, resilience, and determination will continue to guide her toward remarkable accomplishments. Talia, may you continue to pursue your goals with the same strength and purpose that have always defined you.
Rarely does a student leave such a lasting impression that they change the way a teacher sees the world. But Leon is one of those students. Over the last 3 years, Leon has carried himself with a quiet thoughtfulness and a sincerity that draws people in. He approaches the world not only with curiosity, but with a genuine desire to understand its beauty, complexity, and the possibilities. Whether through the art he creates, the honesty he brings to conversations, or even his determination to learn Italian before ever visiting Italy, Leon consistently pursues the things that inspire him with depth and intention. In a time when cynicism can feel easy, Leon reminds those around him that kindness, integrity, and wonder still matter deeply. He has a rare ability to notice meaning where others may overlook it, and to encourage those around him to look more closely as well. Leon, never lose the curiosity, humility, and sincerity that makes you uniquely you.
So, we were standing in the middle of a forest in Poland, the 12 of us. Just hours earlier, we had walked through Auschwitz, and now it was completely dark. We had just finished another round of nigunim with Rabbi Tzvi and his ukulele. Then he told us to spread out, no one within 10 yards of each other, and just to sit alone for 15 minutes. For the first 5 minutes, I couldn't even look up. I just stared at the ground. The darkness felt heavy. The silence felt loud. And honestly, it felt really lonely. I felt alone. But then I looked up. There was light coming from the cosmos. I saw the moon, and I saw the stars. I felt like I was part of something greater than myself. And I'm sure that I wasn't the only one feeling this way. That night, something clicked. I didn't learn anything new, but rather, I experienced what I had always known with all my senses, with my soul. Out there in the quiet, a line from Boyd Vardy's book, The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life, echoed in my mind. I don't know where I'm going, but I know exactly how to get there. And that's what I realized. We don't actually know where we're going. None of us. Not in 5 years, not in 10. But when we stand in our values, we know precisely how to get there. And we only know how to stand in those values because of the people who have helped build them within us. In fact, sitting in this room tonight are 2 women who shaped my world from the very beginning. Mora Dvora, my kindergarten teacher, and Mara Goldie, my 3rd grade teacher. To know that the people who taught me the Aleph Bet and my first Tanakh stories are sitting here to watch me graduate means more than I can express. And that same investment continued through every teacher who has guided us along the way, including our extraordinary JLA staff and faculty. Because it is thanks to all of you that when I looked up that night at the stars, I wasn't afraid of the dark. Without me fully realizing it, it was until that moment. JLA had been preparing me for exactly this. JLA never intended to give me the final destination, but rather something more important, a compass. It gave me the way to think, the way to act, the way to lead. And perhaps that's why I was struck by this week's parasha, the Torah portion, Be'alotcha. Bnei Israel is finally leaving the desert. They are stepping into uncertainty, into responsibility, into a future they cannot fully yet see, just like us. Until now, Moshe has carried the people through the desert. He solved the problems. He stood at the center. Everything flowed through him. But a promised land cannot be built through dependence. And so God tells Moshe to share leadership with 70 elders. Not because Moshe failed, because the goal was never to create followers. The goal was to create leaders. Rabbi Sachs writes that there are two forms of leadership: leadership through power and leadership through influence. He explains that power is something you hold on to. If you give it away, you lose it. But influence is different. The more you give it away, the more it grows. Power creates dependence. Influence creates leaders. And that is what JLA has given us. Not power, not titles, not status. Influence. The ability to take responsibility, to elevate the people around us, to stand for something larger than ourselves. And maybe that is the challenge now placed before us too. Not simply to achieve, but to influence. Not simply to succeed individually, but to help carry others forward. And so even though we don't know exactly where we're going, I trust that where we go is where we're meant to be, and that we know exactly how to get there. Because if we stay grounded in what we've been given, if we continue to give back, to stand in our values, it will influence the people around us towards something higher. Then slowly, the path forward begins to reveal itself. Not all at once, not with certainty, but one step at a time. Just like that night in the forest. We cannot see the entire path ahead of us. But once we looked up, there was enough light to move forward. And I believe that that same light continues to guide us still. This is the ultimate gift JLA has given us. The clarity to see that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. And the tools to actively answer that call. Because there's no deeper satisfaction than knowing that you have stepped up to serve a greater purpose than your own. The extraordinary gift we have received from JLA is not one we can fully repay. But it is one that inspires us to pay it forward for years to come. So tonight, I want to make a commitment. Not just to succeed, but to give. To pay it forward. This is where JLA starts, not where it ends. Our opportunity to show up in the world as JLA graduates starts now. In Rabbi Sachs' words, if we seek a better world, we must make it. I want to now invite my friend Gustavo to lead us in a class pledge to make this commitment together.
The JLA commitment to pay it forward. As members of the inaugural graduating class of the Jewish Leadership Academy, we recognize that our education has made it possible not only by our families and teachers, but by the generosity and belief of those who invested in us and the future of the Jewish people. Today, we accept the responsibility that comes with that gift. As we stand as links in the chain of Jewish learning, leadership, and responsibility that stretches across generations, we commit to paying it forward. We understand that leadership is not only about personal success, but about using our time, talents, resources, and voices to make a difference in the lives of others. We commit to supporting causes that strengthen the Jewish people and that improve the world around us. Through leadership, service, mentorship, philanthropy, advocacy, or education. I hereby invite the class of 2026 to commit to live with purpose, to act with gratitude, and to build a future that honors those who came before us. In doing so, we resolve to create ripples of positive change that help brighten the futures for others. We commit. I would now like to invite JLA's head of school, Rabbi Dr. Gil Pearl, to the podium.
It is my honor, deep privilege, to present the diplomas to each of our graduates, and I ask that as I call out the name of each one, as they approach the stage, that their parents please rise as well, so we can give you all the honor and recognition that you so very much deserve. Michael Abu. Reichman University. Edmund Entebbe, Israel Defense Forces, followed by Babson College. Rafael Escapa, Northeastern University. Ayelet Friedman, Reichman University. Gabriel Graciani, Mechinat Tavor, Israel Defense Forces, followed by Florida International University. Martina Hilu, Florida International University. Jake Kravitz, Yeshivat Oraita, followed by University of Chicago. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That's my sister!
Ariel Preciado, Yeshiva Takoto. Moshe Silberman, University of Miami. Gustavo Schiffer Holin, Virginia Polytechnic Institute. Talia Waldschein, Israel Defense Forces. Last but certainly not least, Leon Zria and Tel Aviv University. Before I recite the official pronouncement and make these students the first alumni of the Jewish Leadership Academy, one quick announcement and two quick thank yous. The announcement is that please wait until after our graduates have recessed, and then please follow them out the back and around to your left outside and to the upper school commons for a reception following the graduation. So before we conclude this evening's ceremony, I want to thank three people, despite the fact that there are so many who deserve thanks this evening. These three don't know that they're being thanked, don't want to be, but must be, on behalf of all of those sitting here on the stage. The first is a duo. We're literally attached at the hips at this time of the year. It is two people who have taken it as a passion project of their own to make sure that this 12th grade felt like 12th graders, that the experience of senior year from day one was going to be something that you guys would never forget. They are responsible for every detail that you see here in this room. They did it with love and kindness. They did it because you guys have a place in their hearts today and forever. Please join me in thanking Ms. Yamit Lindy and Chelsea Wordy. And we cannot conclude this evening's ceremony without recognizing the person who took the line that is written across the wall in our upper school hallway, took it into her life, made it her motto, and made her a model for all of us. The line in the hallway of our upper school says, "Makom she'ein anashim tishtadel liot ish." In a place where there is no person, stand up and be that person. As many of you know, Dr. Debbie Stone took on the leadership of the upper school this year under challenging circumstances that nobody could foresee. She stepped in when we needed her. She stepped up, balancing not only two demanding jobs, but also two little children at home. She gave everything that she had to our upper school students, to our school. And every student in this room knows, and as does every parent, that just beneath the surface of the firm yet fair exterior is a giant heart that loves every single one of these children and every single one of the graduates on the stage like they were her own. Please join me in thanking Dr. Debbie Stone. All right, guys, here it comes. As head of school, I have reviewed the academic records of each student presented here today. I am proud to formally certify that every member of the class of 2026 has successfully met the rigorous requirements for graduation set forth by the Jewish Leadership Academy and the state of Florida. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and in accordance with our standing as an institution accredited by the Southern Association of Independent Schools, I now officially pronounce you graduates of the Jewish Leadership Academy. Graduates, you may turn your tassels. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating class of 2026.
your love.